about Amay Vriya. We're up to Hayna Sui Sakoso, which is in the Vilna Shas, the second line down, last one in the line. Hayna Sui. You have it? Test one out, 17.
Second line from the bottom?
Top. Hayna Sui Sakoso Mesa. If you were married to the sister, that's actually a very interesting question. You were married to the sister of you were married to the sister of your Amoy Vriya. Okay? You were married to the sister of your Jewish maidservant. You bought a Jewish maidservant who was your wife's sister. Okay? So, now, the halacha is, of course, as we learned last week, that there's a concept of yud by Amoy Vriya, right? If you want to use the money which you paid for her to marry her, that's possible. Okay? Or it's machlokas, which you saw last week, we're going to see again today, at what point the marriage takes effect. But retroactively or from here on in. But Lamai said that there's the possibility of marrying her. Now, if, however, at the time you took her in as an Amoy Vriya, you were married to her sister, at that point, you were not suitable to marry this Amoy Vriya, right? You couldn't do yud to her. So, and then you were married to the sister Amoy Vriya, and then your wife died, right? You said that the money becomes yud money at the end, meaning when the master decides to perform the yud, there should be the word ein on here. Ein, the Gillian Ephraim puts the word ein. Ein tzircha kesef achi. You don't have to give other money. Why? Because since it's not retroactive, the fact that she was your sister, an erva to you at the time that she became an amma is not a problem because the yud occurs now, right? Doesn't occur retroactively, it occurs now. However, Man the Marhil says, he says that from the get-go the money was given for the purpose of yud. It is retroactive. So then, take out the word eina, again according to the Ephraim, you need another money. Because the money given at the beginning of the process was given at a time when this woman could not become your wife. So therefore that money given for that purpose cannot serve as the kesef kiddushin. You have to give additional money now in order to contract the marriage. Okay? Now, it says more, no. The truth is, afilu command amar, even according to bin, which holds, now here again we have to change it, even according to the changes here, afilu command amar, basof nitan kesef liyudim, even if you hold that the money only becomes converted to yud money at the time the yud occurs and not retroactively, nevertheless, tzircha kesef achish needs additional money to be mekadesher. Lama, why? Because everybody can see ain't Kiddushin types in Barayis. Everybody agrees that Kiddushin does not take effect by an erva, right? You can't be mekadesh a woman with an erva, who's an erva. So, for example, if you want to go up to your wife's sister now and say to your wife's sister, "You were mekudesh to me after 30 days." What? After I kill your sister, right. So it's not a valid, it's not a valid Kiddushin. And even if you give her the money now and say, hold on to the money until such time as I can be Mekadesh legitimately until such time as I've killed your sister, hold on to the money until then, it's still not a valid Kiddushin. Why? Because at the time you gave her the money, it's a Davar Shlo Bo L'Olam. It's not possible to be Mekadesh this woman. So therefore, the money given is a meaningless gesture, and it can't even take effect later on. The deed has to be begun from the beginning over again. So to here, since at the time that she was taken as Amoy Vriya, the yield was not possible. So therefore, if you want to initiate it later on, even if you hold the money begins later on, not retroactively, you have to start the whole thing over again. Okay? Well, again, why is that? Because everybody agrees, Kiddushin, Tovsin Barayis, everybody agrees that Kiddushin cannot take effect in Arayis. Mizbar Safar, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda. Now this is actually a question. Does Rabbi Yossi hold Elin Yehudin Doachi Kiddushay Torah Hein? Does Rabbi Yossi hold that Yehudin over here are Kiddushay Torah, that they're like all other Kiddushin in the Torah, or they're not like all other Kiddushin in the Torah, not like other marriages? And what's going to be the ramification? We'll see in a minute. Rabbi Avun said, Asya, the Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar. Rabbi Yossi holds like Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar. The time that we learned, Rabbi Pikadon Sheyesh Li Biyodcha. If somebody wants marriage, marry a woman, because Sheyesh Li Biyodecha, actually, with the object of safekeeping which he had given into the woman's hands. V'hocha. After she acquiesced, she went Umitzah, and she found Mitzah Shenigna V'Oshavad. She found that the object was lost or stolen. And so, if there's still part of it there, in the Shtayr Shom Shaveh Pruta Mekudeshes, if there's a Shaveh Pruta worth of the object left, then the Kiddushin is valid. If there's not even that much left, ain't a Mekudeshes. Okay? Then the marriage is not valid. If a husband says, and he wants to be a potential husband, a suitor says he wants to encourage a woman with a loan which he has outstanding against the woman, which he will be moichel, and will be mekasher banos mechilas milveh, with the benefit of, with the pleasure she gets from the loan being forgiven. And she went and found that the loan shenignav or shenevda, which she had in her hand, was lost or stolen. I feel understandable shara pruta mekudeshes. Even if there isn't a pruta's value worth, she's married. Why? Because in that case, since milva lo tzanid, milva doesn't, the loan does not manifest in actual money or objects, right? Because if you lose that money or objects, you have to give other money or objects, because loans are different than objects for safekeeping, right? Object safekeeping, that's the object. If that object is lost, then you might make restitution, but it's not the same object. By a loan, the loan was meant to be spent, and it was meant to be replaced by something else. So therefore, even if there isn't a Shavah Pruta left of that, as long as the loan itself outstanding was a Shavah Pruta, Zanoah being Moichelit is still there, and therefore that's a valid form of Kiddushin. Hashem Elazar Meir said, not true. There has to be opportunity something substantial, not just the benefit, but a tangible benefit. Milva Pikadon. A loan is like a object of safekeeping. In the Shtayr Shom Shaveh Pruta Mekudeshes, if there's a Shaveh Pruta left, then the Kiddushin is valid. And if not, Eina Mekudeshes. It's not Mekudeshes. Now, the Gemara brings out, says, why do we bring this down? Kamara Shimon Elazar Avid Milva Kipikadon. Just like Shimon Elazar says, a loan is like an object for safekeeping. Kain Rabbi Yossi Yehuda Avid Yehudim Kimilva. He makes Yud like a loan. Now, how do you make Yud like a loan? We didn't say this today, but we saw it last week. Rabbi Yossi Yehuda says that whenever he's Mekadesh her through Yud, there must still be enough money outstanding in her value. Remember, as she works off for 6 years or until she becomes an adult, her value becomes less and less and less, right? Because she keeps on deducting from the principal. It's called Giron Kesef, right? And also at the same time, her she's making Maisi a dime. She's making handiwork at a certain rate. We don't know exactly what that is. Reisida says there has to be enough value in her handiwork left at the time the Yud is done that it's a Shaveh Pruta. Okay? So we see that Rabbi Yossi said Yud works like regular Kiddushin. And just like Kiddushin, there has to be at least a Shaveh Pruta of actual value left in order for the Kiddushin to take effect. So to here by Yud, there has to be an actual Shaveh Pruta left. You don't use the most Yishonos. It's not the first money which was given to the father of the Amoy Vriya. Rather, there has to be a Shaveh Pruta left, which you are now being Meicheler. You're saying, you know what, I'll marry you and you don't have to work for me anymore. And I'm Meichel the remaining value. Or I'm Meichel to you the Maisi Adayim. That must be there in order for Kiddushin through you to take effect. Okay? So that makes it tantamount to Kiddushin Doraisa. Okay? So it says the Gemara, So pasuk in Shmos Chofav, it says, if to your son you will be miyayid your am ivriya. This actually is a sugi we have back in the Avomis. Livno miyado, you do yud to your son, and ve'em miyado lochiv, you can't do yud to your brother. In other words, the master's brother is not a candidate for yud. So it says more, if you let him do yud to his brother, let him be able to, yud that literally means designate. Let him be able to designate the am ivriya to his brother because of a kal v'chomer. My ben, she'eno kam tachtav chalitza yibum. A son who's not a candidate to chalitza yibum for a father. Harei miyad, although the father can designate the am ivriya for his son, achiv, his brother, shu kam tachtav chalitza yibum, who can serve in his place to do chalitza yibum, takes the place of his brother, then his brother dies. Edin she'adeno this is not kal v'chomer, that you should said the brother should be able to do yud, he should be able to be designated to marry the Amavriya instead of his brother. So here we have to throw in the line which comes 2 lines down. Look where it says Talmud Lomar, 2 lines down from here. So Talmud Lomar, you have it? Talmud Lomar, the pasuk says, Vim liv no miyadena. If to his son he will be miyader. Liv no miyada, to his son he is miyader, then miyada achiv, not to his brother. So that's more going back to where we were before. Loy mamarta ben shu kam tachto b'stei achuza. Because a son takes a father's place in inheritance, right? In portion of inheritance. So therefore, put in the next 4 words from the next line. Dinu shi'adenalo. Therefore, since he inherits a father, logic dictates that he should be the one to be miyayid. Tamar ba'achiv, as opposed to a brother, she'eno kam tachto b'stei achuza, who does not take a place, in other words, does not inherit, the youth cannot be directed at a brother. Now, why? Because it says, again, we're skipping the lines of trade. For it says to his son, and should be leave no miyada, only to his son, and Bena miyada can be miyad her to. Oh no, there's a new thing. Sorry, it should be libno miyada. You do it to your son. Vena miyada ben beno, but not to your grandson. Can't be miyad to your grandson, only to your son. Shmuel ba'arba boy kumi Rabbi Zira. So Shmuel ba'arba asks for Rabbi Zira. I don't understand. With Parshas Nachlos, in terms of inheritance, Ad Avi ben Keben, a grandson is like a son. That if there's no son, it doesn't go to the brother, it goes to the grandson. V'acha leis Ad Avi ben Keben. So why by you don't you see that a grandson is like a son? Some Rabbi Zira said, Man Domer Li Adam Milsa. Anybody explain to me why, in terms of you, in terms of designating the Jewish maidservant, you can't designate to your grandson, only to your son? Anybody explain this? On a mashkele kunditon, I'm going to give him fine wine to drink. And so Rabbi Nachum responded, he said, Hare Pashas Nachlos. Look at the Parsha of Nachlos themselves, of inheritances. Hare Asisa Ach Keben, you made a brother like a son. Mushakov of Keben, and all other relatives like a son. At Ose Ben Keben. So therefore you also make a grandson like a son. The kind of where by you, where we just will show laws, he saw Ach Keben, that a brother is not like a son. Therefore, the Shal Kol Krovi Keben, you don't make any other relative like a son either. Therefore, Einad Ose Ben Keben. Therefore, you don't make Ben Keben. Therefore, we don't make a grandson like a son either. In other words, precisely because we do exclude brothers from doing yud, so far do we exclude grandsons as well. Rabbanan Kisoim gave a different answer. They said, Rabbanan Kisoim, Ray Pashla Satuma, look at this, and I like their proof even better. A Kohen cannot go to his grandson's Levaya, nor can a grandson Kohen go to his grandfather's Levaya, right? And so we say, you and you can go to your brother's Levaya. A Kohen go to his brother's Levaya, even though he can't go to his grandson's Levaya, and vice versa, right? So, nevertheless, you made a brother like a son. B'shar kol krovim kiven, and other relatives as well like a son. Yet ve'ein aroisa ben kiven, grandson is not like a son. So if over there, if a brother whose Levaya Kohen can go to doesn't have Yud, certainly a grandson whose Levaya Kohen can't go to doesn't have Yud as well. So they said, also kinditon. There are two answers here to Rabbi Zir, and Rabbi Zir lost his wine twice over. One was that in inheritances itself, we see that a grandson is a distant relative. The other in Parshas Tum, we see that a grandson is a different distant relative. So therefore, that's why there's no Yud for a grandson. Okay? If you do Yud to the kid, Ladas, it's got to be with the kid's intent. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, now here the Ritbaz in Yavamas, and here changes the gears, it should be Amar Rabbi Yossi, not Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yossi said, Leis kan das. There is no das for Yud. What's the boy? If you don't need das, what could the boy be? A minor. It's a chiddush. And here you have marriage for a minor, right? Yud can be marriage for a minor boy. Normally say minor boys cannot be mekadesh. But here, Yud could potentially be with a minor, because they don't need das of the kid, right?
So is the Yud actually marriage or just designation for marriage?
It's marriage, it's consummation too. Okay?
The boy has to be above age 9, doesn't have to be age 2.
Right.
So this is the comparison.
Okay, right, no, that's true, that... You're right, it's not unheard of, that's true. But still, it's a chiddush that this is such a thing. So, you're right, it's not such a big chiddush.
Doesn't the child have to be, when he gets bar mitzvah, doesn't, if he didn't...
Well, that's a child there, Masech Yavamas. Whether the one over between 9 and 12 works, he has to do it over again.
So here it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, it seems like, right, it's irrelevant, because the marriage is the consummation, is not the marriage. The Yud itself is the marriage. Right. Rabbi Yaakov said, Iskan, now, here I photocopied this because I made a lot of changes on this page. So, the truth is, this page is messed up here in Kiddushin, but in Yavamas it's okay. So almost all the changes that I made here are actually changes which appear in Yavamas properly. But some of the changes are not. So Iskan, now, the way in Yavamas actually I had a different shot than I have here, just going to do it like I did here. Iskan Ladas, okay? Here we have the concept of Das, according to Rabbi Yaakov Bracha. So Rabbi Yaakov Bracha says the child has to be an adult. Okay, I'm putting the word Ladas instead of Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda. The Mashbiach does that. Okay, so he argues, do you need to have Das or not? I'm Rabbi Shua said, I feel table even to say, Leiskan Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda, even you don't hold like Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda. Now, Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda is coming up later on. Rabbi Yosef is on Daf Yudam Ralph, where he says that Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda says that if you interesting halacha, he said actually we don't pass him like him, but he says that if a father designates his daughter for being Amoivriya to a certain individual, and then he goes and marries that daughter off to another individual, so that's legitimate. He actually gets away with that. Even though technically speaking, Amoivriya should be a road to marriage, he still has the right to marry off to somebody else. Okay?
Does he have to give back the money to the first guy?
No. Doesn't seem like that way. It just says he laughs at the master. That's what it says. So Afilu Tema Leis Kan Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda. Even if you don't hold like again the lace, I changed the east to lace. That's the Mashbiach changes. Basically, Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda, take off a little katan, the Mashbiach changes it to Lekamon. And he says actually the words Lekamon were later in interpolation to the Gemara, because the Yerushalmi rarely uses words like that. The Shai Teres Yisrael in Yevamos has a different correction here. He translated V'lo Katana He. But all right, let's leave that out of this. Let's learn it the way the Mashbiach learns it. He says, "Afilu table leitzkan Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda." Again, went back a line. L'kamon, or without the word l'kamon, v'liv no yadena. If you marry off to your son, you marry them off to your son. So, instead of take out the word ladas, Rabbi Yochanan Omer Miyada Ben Livno Godo Ben Livno Kotan. Yochanan says you can do it whether to your adult child or your adult son or to your minor son. You know, I'm really bothered by this. Just a second. I'm really bothered by what he did a line ago. I'm not so sure I like what I wrote, what I did here. Let's go. I don't understand that line. This is the first line, the end of this first line of the page. I'm sure of Duma Afilu Teima, and again, according to Mashbiach, Leis Kan Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda Kamon. Well, it's a non sequitur. What does that have to do with this Gemara? It's bothering me. I'm not sure I understand how he interprets that line here. One second. Right, you know what? I'm going to learn it the way I learned in the Yevamos, because I see that I can't figure out now what the Mashbiach wants out of this. So let me. I have it written down here on the side in my note Dalit, but I'll give it to you outside. The Rabbi Yochanan said you don't need the das of the son. Rabbi Yaakov Baruch says you need the das. Yeah. No. Rabbi Yossi, sorry. Rabbi Yossi said you need the das. Rabbi Yaakov Baruch said, Rabbi Yossi said you don't need das. Rabbi Yaakov Baruch said you do need das. Why? Like Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Yehuda. What did Rabbi Yossi or Yehuda said? Rabbi Yehuda said that the Kiddushin takes place, like we said previously, not the Rabbi Yossi which is coming on Daf Yuram Rav. Rabbi Yossi before on Daf Tesman said the Kiddushin takes place at the time, not retroactively, but at the time that you declare it, and there has to therefore be a Shavar Pruta left in the amount of work which she owes the master. Okay? So therefore, you need to have das, like Rabbi Yossi says, because obviously at this point in time, it's taking place now. It's similar to regular Maisa Kiddushin, where therefore it says regular Maisa Kiddushin, so you need the das of the child, of the son of whom it's occurring. Abdullah said, no, Afilu Tema, I'm not going to change it. Afilu Tema Iskan Rabbi Yossi. Even like Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda, doesn't matter. The low cotton who The Torah doesn't differentiate. Torah doesn't say it has to be a gadol. It says even though you're Yadena, Bno could be cotton, Bno could be gadol, right? No matter what, it can work, and therefore you don't need das in order to affect it. You need to have a shavar pruta left. You need to retain the simulation of regular Kiddushin. Nevertheless, the whole Kiddush of Yud is, yes, it simulates regular Kiddushin, but it doesn't actually need das. Okay? Now we have the same machlokas over again. V'imno yadeno. If you bring yai to your son, to take out the word ladas mashbeel, does take out on this, so I'll consent. Rabbi Yochanan miyada ben libno gadol ben libno katan. Makes a difference if it's your minor or major son. Ben ladas, ben shaladas, whether it's intentional or unintentional, with the son's intent or not. Rishimen lakish omer. It only is to your adult son, or bat ladas, and it must be with das as well. Okay, now let's cut and paste. Let's go down 4 lines here where I have the star. Right, you see the star? So Amar Rav, right there where I have that diagonal line. Amar Rav. Well, let's put this in here. Amar Rabbi Yavun. Rabbi Yavun said, Asya, and it should be Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yochanan's going to look Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda. Which Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda? The Tani, we learned Bente Shoshani V'yom Echad. Remember, Rabbi Yochanan's the one who says, no, it could be a cotton too. The Tani, we learned Bente Shoshani V'yom Echad. If a child is 9 years and 1 day old, Vaad ben 12 Rishon until 12 years old, V'yom Echad, V'jevi Shtei Saros, and it brings 2 hairs. Harei Shuma, it's a wart. Rabbi Yosef Yehuda Omer, Harei Elu Simonim, is considered to be an adult. Rabbi Yaakov, Rabbi Mishem, Rabbi Serechuna said, Ve'en Sha'am Dobo B'shas Simonim, as long as they remained in him at the time when he becomes an adult, meaning there's those 2 hairs from the time he's 9 or whenever they appear till the time he becomes an adult. Rabbi Yossi boy, Amdubo, let's say they did remain in him. B'shas Simonim, until the time when he becomes 13. Ma'afeu Na'aseish, does he become an adult retroactively? Or Michal Abba, does he become an adult from here on in, from the time he's 13? So we say it's not a wart, but only because he comes 13 do they become Simonim. Everyone said, Pshita, it's obvious, Pshita le'en Ma'afeu Na'aseish. It's retroactively. And kosher came to laba, and certainly to the future. In other words, even retroactively from whatever time they appeared, as long as they remained on the body until it became 13, it's valid hair of adulthood. To Patale, now we say, he explains, Hadar, it should be again Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda. That was Rabbi Yochanan said, that even a katan can do yield, is like Rabbi Yossi, that is Simonim or about Simonim. Says the Gemara, V'lamoles, it should be V'lamoles de Rabbi Yossi, no, V'lamoles Rabbi Yochanan, Pata, it should be V'lamoles de Rabbi Yochanan, 1 second, V'lamoles, no, take a Rabbi Yossi, just take out Rabbi Yossi. V'lamoles patar hada to Rabbi Yossi. It's he changes this one to Rabbi Yossi. V'lamoles, again, the first one just take out V'lamoles Rabbi Yossi, take out Rabbi Yossi, and it should be V'lamoles patar hada, and here put it in the Rabbi Yossi because on Amud Aleph the Mashbiach it changes to Rabbi Yossi. V'lamoles patar hada the Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda as well, Rabbi Yossi and Amud Aleph. On Rabbi said do tzrichole, because this is a question by Rabbi Yossi himself. Rabbi Yossi himself was unclear. Rabbi Yossi asked the question. Rabbi Yossi boy kume Rabbi Yossi asked in front of somebody, he doesn't say in front of whom. Amdo b'shas simonim lemafreya. I guess it's in front. It said before in front of Yaakov Rabbi Boon. So he asked for Yaakov Rabbi Boon. Amdu bo b'shas simonim. If they remained there at the time that of adulthood, lemafreya nase ish omikan ulaba. Does become an adult lemafreya retroactively or from here on in. Now, well, let me say it outside the Gemara, even though it's very confusing, and I don't, and I see now that I don't like it very much at all. But to be honest with you, but the Gemara starts saying Rabbi Yochanan Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda, which is very difficult, because that means that really, even though he's under 12, 13, he really has to be an adult. How is he an adult? Because it means that the going like Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda, the simonim which come under 13, if they remain there till adulthood, are considered to be valid adult simonim. They're saying Rabbi Yochanan only works out according to that. Which really, the truth is that Reish Lakish should also be able to agree to that. Reish Lakish they have to be an adult, but it must be Reish Lakish argues Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda. Reish Lakish says the simonim which come under 13 are never good simonim. And Rabbi Yochanan also is not saying that you can take place then to a katan mamish. It can only take place to a katan who has simonim which remain till becomes a gadol, and then like Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda, Taka is a gadol. That's the way the Gemara is explaining it according to what we just read. Now, according to the Mashbiach's change in Girsa. Now, the Gemara asks, well, didn't Rabbi Yossi and Amav say the same thing as Rabbi Yochanan? Again, according to the Mashbiach's change, the Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Yochanan also said that you can be Mekadosh a cotton and be miyayid for a cotton. So if that's the case, so why don't we say that Rabbi Yossi also took Rabbi Yossi B'Yehuda? That the Gemara says no. Because Rabbi Yossi's question, Rabbi Yossi is the one who asked. Do we hold to Rabbi Yossi is the one who asked? Do we say that when the simonim remained in the lad till the time he's 13, does he become retroactively a gadol or from here on in? Now, from Rabbi Yossi's question, we see that Rabbi Yossi himself was willing to countenance that perhaps under 13, the simonim are not yet valid simonim. Yet at the same time, he said that it can be miyayit to your son who's a cotton. So it must be he doesn't necessarily hold like Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yochanan, we can link to Rabbi Yossi and say he holds when he said a cotton, he didn't really mean a cotton. He only meant the cotton who has continuous simonim until the time he becomes a gadol, right? Which really makes him tantamount to a gadol. But it seems Rabbi Yossi, from his question, he said he's not sure what our status is according to Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda, whether those simonim work retroactively or only from the time he's 13. And yet Rabbi Yossi had said Yud works even to a child under 13. It must be that Rabbi Yossi is willing to countenance that Yud works even to a child who is a katan gomor, an absolute katan. Okay? So that would be now the Gemara is coming out that Rabbi Yochanan holds that it's not really to a katan gomor. It's only a katan who has simonim like Rabbi Yossi Yehuda, and that they work retroactively. Rabbi Yossi holds even if the simonim don't work retroactively, even if it's katan gomor, still the yud can be a valid yud. Okay? So that's the gist of this Gemara. Now let's go back to where we were before, which is where I have the little bays in the Gemara. Okay, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines from the top. Ben Teisha Shani V'Yom. A child was 9 years old in one day. Osama Kohen Gadol, he makes a if he is miyabim a woman, and then the woman dies, so she becomes a amona vis-a-vis a Kohen Gadol. If he's a miyabim woman and then she becomes a grusha, he divorces her, chalutza does chalitza to her, the Kohen Hediot. She becomes also Kohen Hediot. Now the Gemara asks, al daite the Rabbi Yochanan, it should be again according to Rabbi Yochanan. According to Rabbi Yochanan, now here there's a lot missing. I have it written on the side in my handwriting, and it's also in the Korban Eidah where I have the lines next to Korban Eidah. So this is all taken from the Yevamah. So you can look either on the side of my handwriting or in the Korban Eidah. I prefer to look in Korban Eidah. It's probably clearer to read. You see where the line begins. My line's next to Korban Eidah. It says Hey Gimel, right at the top over there. So all you gotta see now. I dated Rabbi Yochanan to Patla B'Yudim. Rabbi Yochanan says that there's Yudim. There's Yud by a child who's under 9, or under 12. Nicha. It works out. Yudim Sheish L'Kinyan Ba. It's not talking about by Yibum. It's talking about through Yud. He made Yud in her, and he made a Kinyan, so therefore also Amar Kohen Gadol. He dies, his wife of this cotton is Amar for Kohen Gadol. A grusha, if he divorces or does his wife, then she becomes a grusha. Or if he dies and then somebody else does chalitza, she becomes chalitza kohen edilt. Baldaita Rabbi Shimon Lakish, according to Rabbi Shimon Lakish, do patla b'nisuin, he says, what he means by patla b'nisuin means that it only works, Yud only works if it can be an absolute true nisuin d'oraisa, meaning if the child is already a gadol. Right? So if that's the case, say petura mina chalitza mina yibum. So she should be potter from petura mina chalitza. Then how we have such a scenario where a child who's between 9 and 12 can affect a Kiddushin, which will then require Chalitza and Yibum. According to Reish Lakish, it's not going to work by Yud, because Yud doesn't work between 9 and 12, nor should it work it shouldn't work by, it's not going to work by Yud. That's basically what the Gemara is asking. In other words, where's the scenario where a child between 9 and 12 can affect all these halachas on his wife? It's not a valid marriage unless he's over 12, right? But here we learn, Nosa Ishu Meis, continuing Korban Eidah, if a child under 12 marries a woman and then he dies, his wife is potter, is exempt mina chalitza mina yibum. She's exempt mina chalitza yibum. So according to Reish Lakish, how do you have such a case? So the Gemara is going to try and answer that. Let's go now, go back to the Gemara. The Gemara is right after where I have the closing diagonal bracket. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines to the bottom. Okay? Nicha amana grusha. I can make a case where a cotton makes an amana or grusha. What's the case where cotton makes amana or grusha? The partner shabolem mishikdil. He had a relationship when he was a cotton, and that wasn't a valid marriage. But then he had a relationship with her again when he grew up. Right? And then afterwards, nothing again, he gives her again. Tipater, or another case whereby chalitza has a work, that Shabbat Umeis, he had relationship when he was a gadol again, and then he died. V'chotzu achim. And the brothers do chalitza, v'yodim minases chalutza, and through that he becomes a chalutza. So it says more, but the problem is if that's the case, mi'ata filu pachos mi ben tisha. If that's the case, why when he's 9? It says specifically in the Mishnah Yavamas, a cotton who's 9 years old. But you're saying that a cotton who's 9, well, of course, if you're learning the case is a case where it's not because he's 9, but rather because he had relations with her again when she was an adult. So why stop at 9? Even if it was 3 when he married her. As long as that relations again when he's an adult, she can still become an almana, grusha, or chalutza. Says Gemara, Amar Rabbi Shmuel, Bar Abdullah, Shmuel said, Vikini, you're right. You could have said when he was 3 he married her. Ela begin to tiny kul and tesha, but because there's a whole series of cases in Yavamas and it's an Hedger as well, where it talks about being 9 years old, right, in order to be Arias, right, in order to make Bichayev and Arias, has to be 9 years old. In order to be Chayev, to create Yivon, has to be 9 years old. So there, with this case also, Tana of Adoimon, this is also mentioned in the context of being 9 years old. Okay? Ra'ina and Pazishim Rabbi Shimon Levi said, Me'achaz lamad Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda learned that one could become a gadol under the age of 13 from achaz. The time we have a brisa, and we had this back in Yevamos as well. Achaz holid ben tesha. Achaz, I don't know if we have this in Yevamos. We had it somewhere, I think. Achaz gave birth when he was 9 years old. Vaharan, in other words, he conceived. Right, he was a male. And Vaharan ben Sheish Haran conceived when he was 6 years old. The Kalev, finish that page. Down here. The Kalev ben Eser. Kalev was 10 years old. According to Binyan, who Kalev who ben Chetzer, who Kalev ben Yehuda. Without getting into details, only according to Binyan that the two Kalevs mentioned in Tanakh are the same Kalev. The unfortunately go through the cheshbon of how we know they're that old, but it's beyond our capacity for now. Okay, period. That's the end of that sugya, the difficult one. Now comes a much easier one. And as I mentioned this before already, her father sells her to one guy and is mekadesh her to another guy. So the father could say to the master, na, you know, it's your tough luck. I have the right to marry off to anybody else. Chacham say, lo sichei, he doesn't have the right to do this. And therefore, he cannot laugh at the master. The master laughs at him. How does this work? According to Chachamim. It's as if you said to a woman, you're married to me, so therefore, in essence, in the Yid, already is dormant the marriage. And therefore, the father has no right to say it. Somebody says to a woman, somebody says to a woman, you're Mekudesh me after 30 days. And somebody else comes and marries her within 30 days. She's not married to the second guy. So, if that's the case, it's as if the marriage occurs 30 days hence. So during those 30 days, anybody can come and marry her. So too, the father should be able to chap arayin before the yud is acted on, and then be able to marry off to another guy, like Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda said. Right? So it says more, no. Rabbi Yehuda was fine, it's like it's like a guy who says, you're married to me from now and after 30 days. So therefore, the from now means the process already started now. The process already started now, so therefore nobody else can insinuate themselves. So there's more, is that true? Somebody says to a woman, you're married to me from here and after 30 days. And somebody else comes and marries within the 30 days. Is she not married to both of them? This is actually a famous case also in the Bavli Kiddushin. If you marry a woman and say, you're Mekudesh to me from now until and after 30 days. So during your entire first 30 days, the marriage is building but not complete. So somebody else can actually come and insert themselves. And they should be married to both. It's a fascinating case, but really it works. It's one of those rare paradoxical cases, because we always say that Kiddushin can't be married to two. Yeah, but she's not full age ish. He structured the transaction in a way that's not, she's not a full age ish. So but during that time, somebody else can come and marry her.
This is her mom's Zeris.
Oh, of course, his mom's Zeris. Oh. Right, because she's two people. Oh. She can't have relations with either one. That's how it comes out. Okay? So that's the case. The father should at least be able to mess her up. They should be able to marry off to somebody else that should be married to two people, right? So it says more, very big chiddush. It says more, no. It's talking about a case of mikvar l'chsheyirtze. The case, the case of where somebody else can insert themselves. If you said, "Arei mekudesh mikan lachar shloshim yom," and you didn't say l'chsheyirtze, that I can pull you in within the 30 days. So in essence, I set my kiddushin as being minimal, as not maximizing itself until after the 30 days are over. But actually somebody else can come in and insert themselves within the 30 days. But if I said I can come anytime during those 30 days and complete the kiddushin, that means that at that point, that means that those 30 days are not a twilight zone, but rather just at my discretion. I'm just waiting to come in and finish it off. So therefore, in that case, somebody else can come and insert themselves. So I don't know if I'm describing it well enough. But if I say you're Mekadesh of me from here and after 30 days, and I don't say look she'ertzeh, so it means during those 30 days I only have a partial Kiddushin. Because I actually set myself off limits to this woman for the next 30 days. I'm not married to her for the next 30 days. But if I said you're Mekadesh to me on the outside 30 days hence, but anytime I can come in the middle and complete it as well, then in that case, I didn't set myself off limits, and therefore somebody else can't come and say, well, you only partially Mekadesh, and you limited yourself, I'm going to come in and be Mekadesh as well. In that case, nobody else can come in Mekadesh. And the same thing Chachamim holds is true by Yud. Since the moment he gave over his daughter's Amavriya, he said it's at your discretion now. Whenever you want to marry her, you can marry her. So in essence, his bailus is enough that he can prevent anybody else from coming and marrying her. Like the case of where a guy said, I'm marrying her from here and after 3 days, but I can complete it any time I want. So,
she comes up that the master, the new master, then says he has some aspect of mastery
over her issues.
But not fully?
Not fully, right. He has an exercise to focus on. It's like an option. It's an option over her issues. That option is enough to prevent anybody else coming. That really is what it boils down to. Where you don't have an option, such as you say, Mekadesh is after 30 days, not within 30 days. You didn't retain an option for those 30 days. Then somebody else can come and insert themselves. But where you retain the option, that potential mastery is enough to fend off any other comers. That's what the Gemara is saying.
Trying to make some analogy to Mimer.
Mimer is a good analogy, actually. Mimer, if the old Mimer works to rice, yes. It's a similar idea. Right? Mimer would deflect anybody else, even though it's not a full consummation. So, I don't know if it's a perfect analogy, but it would be a similar idea. Not bad. Okay? Now, it says another amazing bomb chiddush. And the Gemara itself and Yudaf, I think, will quibble with this. Mayoni Yeshua at the bottom goes nuts over this. He says, how could this be? Hakomoidim, everybody agrees, however, Shimisia, that if the father doesn't just betroth her to somebody else, but actually does nisuin, meaning he gives it to somebody else for bia, to the Samoivriya, then shasichek ba'adam. Then the father just thumbs his nose at the master. And the Mayon Yeshua again goes nuts. He says, what difference does it make? If the Adon has mastery, has the option to exercise whatever you define it, so what difference does it make if the father gives it to somebody else for Kiddushin, or if he needs to it? It makes no difference, right? Lamai said it should be Bias Nus if he gives it over to Nisuin. Shouldn't be anything more than that, right? So my other Yeshua gives an answer which I don't know if I like, but I don't have anything better, certainly. He says, the master has an option. But if he's the Shtika Kodah, if he sees the father giving the Samay Vriya to another guy for Nisuin, it's as if he actually relinquished his option. Because since it's an option, so on inside that it may be Kiddushin and remain silent. If he saw the father be Mekadosh or somebody else. But if he saw Nisuin and remained silent, and he really had some Havmina to exercise his option, then he would not have remained silent. So remain silent as if at that point in time he relinquishes his option. Okay? I don't know if I like it, but that's what he says. What? It is weird, yeah. But I don't have a better interpretation than that. Okay. It says, let's go quickly to get the Yudaf and Raf. Lama. It says, Kim Koresh is Bito La'ama. And we dash in that Lama, La'ama Bilvan. You can sell your daughter just to be an Amma, meaning, you can sell your daughter to as a slave, and make a stipulation with the master, that he won't be miyayid her. He won't marry her. Divrei Meir. Such a condition is null and void. She's no mashkosa b'Torah. It's master mashkosa b'Torah. To make a condition against that which the Torah said. Torah said, Am Reveal leads to yield. Master mashkosa b'Torah. Everybody makes a condition on that which the Torah says. It's no but. It's null and void. It says more of later Meir called master mashkosa b'Torah. It's no but. So how come doesn't Meir agree with that principle? Isla, he holds of it. Of course, he holds of it. However, I'm sorry. He does hold of it, but this is the way to read it. Isla, he holds this following Kiddush, which is fascinating Kiddush. I remember this from the Bavli. Tonight, efshar l'lon l'kaimo b'sofo. He holds that tonight against the Torah works if it potentially won't go against the Torah. If it's a Tanai which the Torah allowed him to exercise, meaning, I don't know if I didn't make that clear. Let me somebody make it clear now. Meaning that ultimately he doesn't have to be miyayid, right? The master himself can decide not to be miyayid. So it's not master mashkosa b'Torah. Master mashkosa b'Torah is if you go against all options the Torah gave. But the Torah gave the master an option not to be miyayid. So if it is not master mashkosa b'Torah, yes, the Torah wanted there to be an option, but Torah also allowed for the option of not marrying her, right? So all the husband is doing is saying, all the father's doing is saying, I want to lock you into option 2. That's not master mashkosa b'Torah, right? I'm locking you to the option of not marrying her. That's not master mashkosa b'Torah. So that's not a good svara. V'leisei Rabbanan tonight she'ef shel l'kaimo b'sofo. Why do Rabbanan hold this svara? So there's more. It's a fascinating answer. So more Islam tonight mama. Rabbanan hold. I can lock you into an option 2 if it's a Tanai Momon. But this, Vizet Tanai Guf. This is a Tanai in the Guf, meaning Amo Ivriya is not just a monetary thing, it's a status thing in the woman herself. And there, you are changing the status the Torah granted her, meaning granted the master over her. So fascinating, Lamda Shesvara. In a T'nai Shema moment, you can lock a guy into an option, whichever option you want, even if it goes against the primary option of the Torah. But a T'nai Aguf, since Amivri is not just a monetary ownership, but a status, so then you're changing the whole status of Amivri, because Amivri by definition, according to Rabbanan, is a status which can lead to marriage. And to lock that off is diminishing the entire concept of Am Ivriya as expressed by the Torah. So therefore your Tanai falls off. It's a fascinating distinction. You don't like it, do you?
My mind is...
On the phone?
That's the problem with the mind shiur that you mentioned.
What?
That there is a shtika kodar is a din moment. It's not a din in a... You were talking about issues, it's an aspect of a Gemara. That distinction the Gemara is making here, I think, is the problem with the
I don't know, sure, right? Because it's not like a shtika kodar, right. So you're dealing with the actual status. Yeah, that's true. Okay, so it says, well, wait a minute, it's not working. Tanai Shebaguf. What Tanai Shebaguf also works. Says Gemara, V'atani, didn't we learn? No se adam isha, a man can marry a woman. Umasim stipulate with her, Nasha lo yeh lo alav, lo share lo ksus lona. You can say, I'm not going to support you, not with share, not with ksus, not with ona. So share is food, and ksus is clothing. Nicho share ksus, that's mama. But ona lo tonight gufu, how can stipulate against ona? If you hold that tonight guf, you can't go against the Torah. Ona, it's tonight guf. So another amazing Gemara. It's an amazing Gemara. You can't make a condition against an adult woman not to provide her with ona, because that's changed the t'nai shebeguf of the marriage. You hear what he's talking about here? When you could stipulate when you marry a ketana, you're not going to provide her with ona, because she doesn't need it as much. So therefore, for her, it's not a t'nai shebeguf. For an adult, not to provide her with ona is a t'nai shebeguf. For a ketana, even though the marriage to her is d'oraisa, it's not considered a t'nai shebeguf. So amazing concept. I guess she doesn't enjoy it as much, so therefore it's not as essential to her. So therefore, by her, it's just like a monetary condition. I don't really understand it, but the Gemara is saying that there's a difference in ona when you're married to a gdola or when you're married to a ketana. Okay.
Well, physiologically.
I guess so. Yeah. Not physical reproduction.
Give her a lollipop.
Yes, give her a lollipop. Okay, says the Gemara. Mamakayim Hada Tanya Lama. The Tana who says that there's no to change the status on Ma'ivriya, she must be susceptible to Yud. What does he do with Lama? It sounds like he can sell only for the purpose of Amma. So now let's so the Gemara says, actually the Mashbiach says we have to put in a line over here from 2 lines down. Some Rabbi Yisrael Bun says Tipater Ba'mona Min Erusin. That's 2 lines down from here. We're talking about a Lama means we're talking about a woman who was already Almana Mina Erusin. She was already Almana once before. She's a girl, she's a minor, but she's an Almana. And nevertheless, despite the fact she's an Almana, you can sell her even to Kohen Gadol, despite the fact that then there will be no Yud, because the Kohen Gadol is now allowed to be Meider. So there, it's not the father's making the T'nai, it's the halachic status of his daughter. So even if he holds that you can't make a stipulation personally because it's Masa Mashkos Pater, if it's a halachic barrier, you can still sell even though she can only be an Amma and not a wife. And going back to the 2 lines, you have the Mashbiach tells in a bread the Tanya. Where the Bryce of Morcha Amon of the Kohen Gadol, you can sell a girl even if she's an Amon of the Kohen Gadol, or a Gush Chalutza divorcee, or a Chalutza to a Kohen Hedyot. Okay, now then we're asking yet another question. Ma Mekayim, the Tana who holds, Ma Mekayim Hadan Tanya Le'ima, what does the following Tana do with Lama? Sorry. What does the following Tana do with Lama? A new Tana. But a Tani. And it's a new concept. Moich Adam is Bito Ishus. A person can sell his daughter for marriage. Rishoina. We'll sell her again to marriage. In other words, first you don't succeed, try again. Of course, only if she had Eris in the first time, not Nisuin, right? Once Nisuin occurs, she goes free. But he tried, he can do it again. With Shivlas, he sold her to be a Shivcha and Rabba. Rishoina could sell again, first time didn't work out. And Ishus Achar Shivlas, he could also sell her for marriage after she was not made free if that didn't work out. Avolo l'shivchus achar ishus, but he can't sell to be an amavriya once she was already married. So if that's the case, how can you can't sell a girl who's an almana as an amavriya to Kohen Gadol? Not because there's a halachic limitation in that she can't undergo yud, but rather because of the special halacha. You can't sell a girl who's once married to to be a slave, right? So if that's the case, where do you have a scenario where la'ama, meaning that she's sold only for the purpose of slavery and not for the purpose of wifery? Okay? If you hold that you can sell for be master mashkos b'torah, so you have such a reality. If you hold that you can sell for shivchos achar ishus, you have such a reality. But if you hold that you can't sell for shivchos achar ishus, then how do you have such a scenario where women can be sold for slavery and not for wifery? Now the truth is, if it was up to you, I would give a very simple answer, but the Gemara does not give my answer. I haven't said she's a mamzeres. You're selling your daughter as a mamzeres, right? So she became possible for marriage to the Adon but not via a prior Ishus relationship. So I don't know why the Gemara doesn't give that answer. Right? Even a nice, simple answer. The Gemara doesn't give it. Says the Gemara, it's not to remember. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan said, Tanoin, it's Machlokas Tanoin. Man Islay Amona L'Kohen Gadol. He says he holds Amona that the scenario is the case of Amona L'Kohen Gadol. That's the scenario where you sell the Amma and not for only for slave and not for wifery. Islay Shivchus Achrish. He holds you can sell for slavery after she was once a wife. Man Delayse Amona L'Kohen Gadol. He who holds that you cannot. There is a. We're not talking about a case of Amon L'Kohen Gadol, but rather the case of Masha Kos Batera holds that he holds that way precisely because Leisli Shivchus Acharishus. He doesn't know that there's only any sale for slavery after she was once a wife. Ma Mikayim Hadetani Lama. So if that's the case, let's say you hold the Avatana holds both, you can't do Master Masha Kos Batera. And you can't sell for slavery after wifery. So if that's the case, what's he going to do with Lama? So again, I would have given my answer, Mamzerus, but they want to give us a different answer. Which is just as good as again. So about a case where the master was married to this girl's sister. So then she's talking sold for slavery, not for wifery. Why? Because she can't become the wife of the master, because the master is married to her sister. Okay? Tanya Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai said, "Kishem sheino mochel l'shivchus acharishus." He argues the piece where just like you can't sell for slavery after she was once married, aflo shivchus acharishus. Once she was sold once, and Rashi brings down Torah. Once she was sold once as shivcha, you can't sell again as a shivcha. Ma'ita Shimon Bar Yochai, whereas Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says, "Bebigdo ba." His selling her for slavery is called by Torah treachery. It says bigdo. Bigdo is singular. You can only be treacherous to her once. They ain't a bogi bo pam shir not a second time. Ma mekayim rabbanon. The rabbanon say you could sell her multiple times for slavery. What do they do with the pasuk of Shimon Bar Yochai? So they say a different shot. Bigdo ba is not a lashon of treachery, but a lashon of garment, a talis, a chuppah. Came Shapires Talisa Alea, once the master spreads his talis over her and marries her, put his beged, and Lavia Barashus, her husband, her father no longer Shus, even if her husband dies or divorces her. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish boy come Rabbi Yochanan Shimon ben Lakish asks for Yochanan, Amri for Yotze ben Nisuin. Does an Amo Ivriya go out? Now this is true, this is where the Gemara which he had on top of Yunam Beis, where the Mayona Yeshua went crazy. So Rabbi Shimon Lakish seems to ask her the question. And Amivriya, if her father marries her off to somebody else while she's an Amivriya, does she go out of being an Amma Mikavachomer or not? Maim Simonim is Simonim, right, becoming an adult. Shem Motzimos Rishusah, if they don't take her out of father's domain, because she still has a half year until she becomes a Bogeris. But they do take her out of her master's domain, right? Nisuin, marriage, which does take her out of her father's domain. Is not a kavchom, takes her out of her master's domain. There was if the father marries her off to somebody else, like the Gemara said, on top of Yudam Beis, that should take away from the master. So Rabbi Yochanan seems to argue in that previous Gemara. Says, no, Amarle Ani, Ainli Ella, Shel Mishnah Yisera Olav. I don't have, Ainli Ella Shel Mishnah, I only have the terms listed in the Mishnah. Yisera Olav, Amivriya, Shikonatsa Simonim. And Amivriya has one advantage over Evet Ivri, that she goes out with Simonim, with her adulthood, but not by being married to somebody else. So it's not clear to me what Rabbi Yochanan means. I think what Rabbi Yochanan means is that even if the father marries her off to somebody else, Nisuin, it's null and void, and she remains an Amo Ivriya. It's possible, whatever, and that would argue on the Gemara on top of Yudam Beis. It's possible, however, that Rabbi Yochanan means, although I doubt it, is that even though he marries her off to somebody else, she still has to work for this guy until her term is up. That's a possibility. When she's still a domestic servant, even though she's married to somebody else. But I think the push-up shot is that even by trying to marry off somebody else, doesn't work, she still remains Amivriya, and the nisuin to the other individual does not take effect.
She has a day job and she has a night job.
Right, that would be the other alternative, the one which I didn't like, but it's a possibility. Okay, we'll stop here for this evening.
I have very sad news.
It was